Are you tired of your meals lacking that perfect slow-cooked depth of flavor? A great enameled cast iron Dutch oven might be the secret ingredient your kitchen is missing. That is exactly why I've spent the last few weeks putting these 7 popular models to the ultimate test, evaluating their heat distribution, durability, and everyday usability in a real home kitchen. Stick around until the end, because the Dutch oven that claimed the #1 spot genuinely surprised me with its innovative features. Seven, Umite Chef Enameled Cast Iron Dutch Oven. Straight out of the box, this pot presents a vibrant, glossy finish that certainly looks the part of a premium piece of cookware. I was initially impressed by the aesthetic, as it brings a lovely pop of color to the kitchen counter. The overall weight feels substantial, which is exactly what you want when you are looking for traditional cast iron heat retention. When it came time to actually cook with it, I started by testing its searing capabilities with a batch of beef stew. The pot heated up relatively quickly on my induction cooktop, and I was able to get a decent crust on my stew meat. However, as I continued to cook, I noticed that the heat distribution wasn't perfectly uniform. I found myself having to constantly rotate the meat to avoid some pieces browning much faster than others, which points to a few subtle hot spots across the base of the pan. Moving the pot from the stove to the oven highlighted another minor frustration regarding its design. The side handles on the Umite Chef are noticeably smaller than those on higher-end models. When you are wearing thick, heavy-duty oven mitts, which is absolutely necessary when pulling a heavy cast iron pot out of a 400-degree oven, getting a secure, confident grip on these tiny handles feels a bit precarious. In terms of the enamel quality itself, it performed adequately for basic tasks, but it did leave me with some long-term durability concerns. After just a few intensive cooking sessions, including a rich, highly acidic tomato sauce, the interior enamel felt slightly thinner and showed some stubborn discoloration that required quite a bit of elbow grease and baking soda to remove. Six, Overmont Enameled Cast Iron Dutch Oven. Overmont is a brand that has built a solid reputation in the outdoor camping cookware space, so I was incredibly curious to see how their transition into indoor enameled kitchenware would pan out. Aesthetically, it has a very classic, robust look, and it certainly feels incredibly sturdy the moment you lift it out of the packaging. To put the Overmont to the test, I decided to bake a classic, crusty sourdough boule. A Dutch oven needs to trap steam effectively in the first 20 minutes of baking to get that beautiful oven spring. Unfortunately, I discovered that the lid on my Overmont unit had a very slight wobble to it. It did not sit completely flush against the rim of the pot, allowing a small amount of precious steam to escape during the bake. The bread still turned out quite good, but it lacked the maximum rise I get from pots with a perfectly engineered seal. Another factor to consider with the Overmont is its sheer physical weight. Even by cast iron standards, this pot is unusually heavy. While heavy walls are great for retaining heat over long simmers, the added bulk makes it incredibly cumbersome when it comes time to maneuver it around the sink for washing. If you struggle with heavy lifting in the kitchen, wrestling this soapy, slippery pot under the faucet is going to be a notable challenge. When I used it for a simple stovetop chili, the interior cooking surface proved to be quite capable. The enamel isn't quite as smooth to the touch as the premium models we will discuss later, possessing a slightly more textured grit, but it released the beans and ground beef surprisingly well. 5. Fijinhom Enameled Cast Iron Dutch Oven. This is where we start to see a noticeable shift upward in both performance and overall design refinement. The Fijinhom boasts a beautifully sleek exterior and a wonderfully smooth cream-colored enamel interior that instantly elevates the cooking experience. When I tested this pot with a slow-braised pork shoulder, the searing process was an absolute joy. The smooth interior allowed for an excellent, even caramelization on the pork without the meat aggressively adhering to the bottom. Once I added my braising liquids and secured the lid, the pot held a steady low-temperature simmer in the oven for 4 hours flawlessly, The moisture retention was fantastic, yielding incredibly tender, pull-apart meat. One of the standout features of the Fijinhom is its attention to ergonomics. The side loop handles are generously proportioned, providing plenty of room for bulky silicone oven mitts. Lifting a pot full of dense meat and liquid from the bottom rack of the oven felt safe, secure, and perfectly balanced, which is a huge relief when you're dealing with hot, heavy cookware. The cleanup process was also remarkably straightforward. Because the interior enamel is so finely applied and glass-like, the reduced braising liquid and caramelized sugars wiped away with nothing more than warm soapy water and a soft sponge. I didn't have to resort to any harsh scrubbing or soaking, which speaks volumes about the quality of the non-porous surface. For the price point, the Fijinhom represents a fantastic middle ground option. It punches well above its weight class in terms of heat distribution and ergonomic comfort. It is a highly reliable, everyday Dutch oven that any home cook would be thrilled to have in their daily rotation. Four, Nuovva Enameled Cast Iron Dutch Oven. Nuovva has managed to create a piece of cookware that strikes a brilliant balance between striking visual aesthetics and genuine, practical functionality. The exterior enamel is vibrant and flawless, making it a pot you will actively want to leave out on your stove on display, even when you aren't using it. The feature that really sets the Nuovva apart during my testing was the design of its lid. The underside of the lid features a series of thoughtfully placed condensation bumps, or dimples. As your food simmers, steam rises, hits the cooler lid and condensates. These dimples ensure that the moisture drips evenly back down over the entire surface of the food, creating a continuous self-basting cycle. I tested this self-basting feature by making a classic French coq au vin. The results were spectacular. The chicken remained incredibly moist and tender, and the sauce reduced to a perfect, rich consistency without ever drying out around the edges. The Nuovva did exactly what a premium Dutch oven is supposed to do. It intensified the flavors while completely locking in the moisture. On the stovetop, the Nuovva sits perfectly flat, which is especially important if you are cooking on an induction or glass-top stove. The heat transfer is rapid and beautifully consistent from the center all the way out to the edges. I experienced zero hot spots while sweating delicate aromatics like onions and garlic, allowing for a perfectly even sauté. The Nuovva is a beautifully engineered pot that makes slow cooking feel effortless. The self-basting lid is a game changer for roasts and stews, and the overall build quality ensures it will last for years. It is a stellar performer that easily earns its spot in the upper half of our list. 3. Tastedeli Enamel Cast Iron Dutch Oven. The moment I unboxed the Tastedeli, I knew I was dealing with a serious piece of culinary equipment. The build quality is incredibly impressive, featuring thick, robust walls and a heavy, perfectly fitted lid that screams durability. Despite its heavy-duty construction, the Tastedeli is engineered with excellent balance. It feels substantial without feeling unmanageable. I put it through a grueling high-heat test by roasting whole root vegetables at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Cast iron is known for taking high heat, but lower quality enamel can sometimes craze or crack under extreme temperature shifts. The Tastedeli handled the intense heat beautifully, producing perfectly blistered vegetables with no damage to the finish. This Dutch oven also excels as a serving vessel. Because the cast iron is so thick and the heat retention is so superior, you can bring this pot straight from the oven to the dining room table, and your food will stay piping hot throughout the entire meal. There is no need to rush back for seconds worrying that the stew has gone cold. The interior enamel is incredibly resilient. I cooked a massive batch of sticky, sugary baked beans that baked for hours, a true stress test for any cookware surface. To my absolute delight, the sticky residue practically floated off the bottom of the pan during cleanup. The resistance to staining and scratching on this model is easily on par with brands that cost 3 times as much. The Tastedeli is a powerhouse of a Dutch oven. It offers top-tier durability, exceptional high-heat performance, and effortless cleanup. If you are looking for a pot that can take a beating in a busy kitchen and still look brand new, This is a phenomenal choice. 2. Martha Stewart Enamel Cast Iron Dutch Oven. Sometimes celebrity-branded cookware can be more style than substance, but I can confidently say this Martha Stewart Dutch Oven is a genuine culinary masterpiece. It combines a stunning, timeless design with flawless cooking execution. The shape and capacity of this pot are incredibly well thought out. It features gently sloped sides and a wonderfully wide, flat base. This expansive surface area is an absolute dream for browning large batches of meat. I was able to sear an entire batch of beef chuck in one go without overcrowding the pan, which saves a massive amount of time when prepping a large stew or pot roast. The enamel quality on the Gatwick model is exceptional. It is thick, highly glossy, and incredibly slick. I subjected it to multiple rounds of highly pigmented acidic foods, including a deeply rich Indian curry and a slow-simmered bolognese sauce. After washing, the interior remained a pristine, bright cream color with absolutely zero ghosting or staining left behind by the vibrant spices and tomatoes. Transitioning this pot from the stovetop to the oven to the table is a seamless experience. The handles are perfectly integrated into the cast iron mold, offering a wide, comfortable grip that feels incredibly safe. The stainless steel knob on the lid is also a highly appreciated touch, allowing for safe, high-temperature oven baking without having to worry about a composite knob melting. The Martha Stewart Gatwick is almost entirely flawless. It delivers premium, heirloom-quality performance, beautiful aesthetics, and unmatched searing area. It is a professional-grade tool that will elevate anyone's home cooking, making it a very deserving runner-up on this list. Nuwave 6QT Enameled Cast Iron Dutch Oven. The Nuwave completely redefines what you should expect from modern cast iron cookware. It takes the ancient, reliable physics of heavy cast iron and upgrades it with truly cutting-edge manufacturing technology. The absolute standout feature of the Nuwave, and the primary reason it takes the crown today, is its proprietary enamel protection. Nuwave has applied a highly advanced multi-layer enamel coating that is astonishingly durable. During my testing, it felt nearly indestructible. It is highly resistant to chipping, scratching, and thermal shock, meaning you can confidently use metal utensils and subject it to rapid temperature changes without the constant fear of ruining your expensive pot. Its cooking versatility is completely unmatched. I use the Nuwave for everything: deep frying crispy fried chicken, baking a high hydration sourdough loaf, and simmering a delicate milk-based chowder. In every single scenario, the heat distribution was flawless. There were absolutely zero hot spots, meaning my oil stayed at a perfect temperature, my bread got an even crust, and my chowder never once scorched to the bottom. The precision engineering of the Nuwave lid is also worth celebrating. It boasts the tightest, most secure seal of any Dutch oven I tested. It locks down onto the pot so perfectly that virtually zero moisture escapes during long, slow braises. This means all the flavor, steam, and nutrients stay trapped right where they belong, inside your food. The resulting flavors are incredibly concentrated and rich. The Nuwave 6 Quart is the ultimate combination of traditional cast iron performance and modern, worry-free durability. It is a joy to cook with, a breeze to clean, and built to survive a lifetime of daily use. If you want the absolute best enameled cast iron Dutch oven on the market right now, the Nuwave is unequivocally the one to get.